Awesome! Welcome to the show. So we are doing a part two, and there's probably only be part two. There'll only be two parts to this one because it's pretty easy kind of cue. It's an organic, emotive uh, spaces. That's what the title of the album is going to be, and I'm up to track two, I believe. This is number two. So so I'm kind of like finding sounds as we go. Usually the first two or three take a little bit longer for me personally because I'm trying to just finding sounds and kind of finding the go-to presets that I like, and then when by the time I hit 7, 8, and 9, 10, they're just like it's pretty much on autopilot, and I've got all this template, everything ready, and all I'm doing then is just making sounds because I have my palette, and I'm just kind of like throwing things around. So let's go ahead and dive in. I will share my screen here so you guys can see this. And I believe actually I need to, actually I think I have to set it to the zoom. I have to make one more setting. Zoom playback, or else you won't be able to hear it. All right, so there we go. It's reloading up. So has anybody watched part one? Part one. So you've seen part one. So you've seen a little bit. So you've seen. I've thrown a lot of sounds out there. I haven't edited anything. So it's there's a few mistakes in there. I got to kind of like tweak and fix up. And I want to do a lot more ambient stuff and have a few things moving. So I'm going to do a few tricks with that. But then we're going to mix it, and then you'll see my mixing process and my mastering process, and we should be in and out within maybe a little over an hour. What I like to do is I kind of like to take it out because your ears are so important to this process. Obviously, I like to take those breaks. So I like to get a chunk of stuff done, and then I'll come back the next day, or take a break if there's a deadline. I'll take a break and then have lunch and then come back to it that afternoon. But I'll get to listen to it with fresh ears and be like, you know what? I was so hung up on that little guitar part, and that doesn't even work. And I'll just mute it, and I don't even have to edit it. Otherwise, if you're in the same session, you might be editing and making it perfect, and then the next day you come back to it and you're like, that didn't even work. So I just spent half an hour tweaking something that I don't even like for the song anyway. So I like to do it kind of in those bite size. So I recorded all the guitars yesterday. I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. If I have to, I can just re-record another little line. So that's always the option. You can do that, but hopefully not. I'll probably add some piano stuff as we go because that can all be done in the box, and that's really easy. And yeah, so let's share the screen and let's get going. And so I'm going to have my chat open. So if you have any questions, I welcome them, and it's good to have a few second break or a couple of minute break as we talk about that, and any questions on anything, any of the plugins, anything I'm using, or anything. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. All right, cool, very cool, got it. All right, still hear it, big reverbs. All right, cool. So let me open this one a little bit bigger for me to see what I'm doing here. All right, let's have a little listen through. I can't really remember. I've done 2 tracks this morning, so I can't remember what I did. And what you'll see me do here is I just clean up as I go. Simple little things. Like I don't even need to audition this little thing. I can hear that's probably a scrape or something I don't want. So I'll be trimming as I'm listening. So kind of like multitasking, I guess. All right, cool. So a lot of editing to do. So let's go ahead and just kind of clean things up a little as we go. And Joe says, Steve, this is for a film soundtrack or artist album or catalog. This is actually for an album of. I'm going to be doing an album of organic emotive spaces. That's going to be the title of the album. And I'm going to do like 10, probably 12 tracks, and maybe even 15 of these. Is that kind of things. And then I'm actually going to pitch it to one of my publishers, and if they don't take it, I'll pitch it to the next one and pitch it. So it'll get signed. I know that. And so this will be just a bunch of these kind of things. So it's as you kind of like the first question you said, is this for a film track or that's I'm guessing you're kind of thinking the same as I'm. It sounds very much like almost like a score. It sounds like it would fit under like a music bed, and that's totally it. So that's the total idea. And so instead of it's just very kind of lot of thinking going on, like meaning it's very kind of reflective, or the actors of they're something's happened and they're thinking about it. It can be, it doesn't, to me these aren't sounding very, they're not positive, but they're not super somber. They're kind of like the word emotive comes from like emotion. They're pulling from emotions, and usually that's it's just a reflective kind of thing. I like the word reflective, I think, but I know I've already done a bunch of albums that are reflective albums or reflective guitars, or so this one's going to be organic, which is the acoustic side of it, and the emotive spaces is the other side. So let's keep going now. Some of this piano is out of time. I noticed some of those parts. Let me just double check some of these. And I just made it perfect. So I just quantized it exactly to the grid. I could come back and make it a little unquantized if I want, if I feel like it's too on the beat or too square, but usually that works. This is where something's happening here. And sometimes what happens when you do those emotive ones or something that's got a lot of pads in it and you want the kind of the pads and the ambient sounds there, sometimes when you if you keep listening to it, if it keeps it's there all the time, it ends up being really loud, and you get used to it, and it kind of clouds the rest of what you're doing. And then when you go to mix it, the other stuff isn't as clear, and this is the pads are just so loud. So what I try to do is I squash them down, like not squash them, but I turn them really extra low down, just so they don't get in the way, and I can actually focus on the more of the instruments that need to be clear. So that's why I just turn that down a bit. All right, we got some edits here. So that edit there was a bit too, I wonder if I'm pulling back. I'm going to use the other take. A little bit more. A bit better. That'll be nice. I think that'll be nice. All right, so let's actually, and what I do in my process, everyone, you'll find a process that works for you. What works for me is I kind of edit, mix, and all at the same time. So right now I'm about to put on some EQ, and I'm going to kind of EQ and compress this acoustic guitar as I'm kind of editing it. So it just makes it just works for me, just the whole process. And then when I'm really about to finish, I just do some finalizing of the mastering, and and we have a first mix down, and usually it takes me 2 or 3 mixes to kind of to get it right. I'll come back and with fresh ears tomorrow and tweak it. So there's a plugin I've been using lately which I really like. It's the SSL channel. It's the EV2. It's pretty new by Waves, and it's really cool. And so I've dialed it in now to make it even faster. I have a setting of my own called Steve Start, and and I just have an acoustic guitar clean setting. I don't know if you can kind of see that when I pull it up, but it's a bit hard to see. But anyway, so it's just a start, and I have a lot of from about 200, it's taken off, and then I have a little tiny little bump at probably about 4K, and then I turn up this a little bit, and it's not on the brown channel. The brown channel makes it a little bit a different sound, but basically, and if anything I'm saying kind of goes over your head, no worries, you can rewatch it and ask me any questions on it. But I basically have a preset that just makes it like this will sound already 90% there, and then I might tweak from there without just one preset. So I just copied that down on both of these. I'm sending this to some reverb, so I'm just going to open up the reverb a little bit longer. So what I'm doing here is I'm just panning them left and right. I don't want them to go too far out. I don't want them to go like 100% panned left and then 100% panned right. I'm going about 78. So I'm just going to go sit around there and just see how that feels. Because the bigger the song, the more I like to pan it out wide. The smaller the song, or I'll pan it in a little bit more. I treat it like a stage. Like if you go to see a singer-songwriter, or if you go see a three-piece band, they're not going to be stretched out over the whole stage where the bass player is way on the other side and then the guitarist is way on the other side. They're going to be a little bit more together. And if you have a 120-piece orchestra, then they're going to be spread out. So that's the way I treat panning. Oh, thanks, George. Yeah, it's these ones are fun to work on because they are beautiful. It's really nice and relaxing, and it's kind of soothing and everything. Joe asked, "Do you ever use a wider plugin?" No, I don't. The reason is because I'm a little bit, me personally, I'm a little bit more of a fundamentalist, or I kind of like sometimes I don't like those. As a guitarist, I never liked those big. You buy those guitar effects pedal boards where they do 1,000 sounds. I'm always been the guy to be like, I want that reverb, so I get just a reverb. So I don't really play with too much widener stuff. I don't really do it at all. But sometimes I might want to do an effect thing, and I have thought about it. I've thought, oh, maybe I could throw some effects or make something crazy or do something crazy fun or something. And that's probably the only thing I would probably use. I don't play with any of that stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not bad or it's not good. It's just that's kind of like works for me, and I'm happy with that. So I would treat it more like an effect. Like let's do something to change the sound and make it crazy cool. That's what I would treat it like. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, I want most of these pianos to be right on the grid, so I'm gonna move them all back and so that they all go right onto that grid, because what I've got a little bit of movement in the organic acoustic guitar, and so I'm okay as that as a musician, you know, the only thing that's kind of moving a little bit more and is not perfect is the guitar, and that's okay, but I want the other elements to be pretty much perfect. So I'm going to grab nearly all of these piano parts and just put them in time, just put them into the grid. 16th, that works. So I've made them super tight, except for the very last chord. The very last chord should have a little bit of movement. I want it to kind of like arpeggiate. A little too early. A little bit more, actually. That's nice. That's nice. Yep. That's what we'll do there. So, all right, keep going. We're still editing, still trying to get some of these guitars nice and clean. Oh. They snapped too close. They went too close. They went the other six. They went to the 16th too early. Should have done 8th. All right, cool. I think the piano's in time now. Let's put a little bit more. I think I want a delay. I want to, when the notes play, I want this background delay kind of, you know, kind of echoing, but very distant on that piano lines. So I'm just going to send it to a delay. I have a delay set up here, so let's see if that one works. So let's just go ahead and add a bus, send it to a bus, send it to the delay. Where is it? There it is. Just turn it up a little bit, and let's see how that sounds. And here's a plugin I've been using for a little while. I'm a big fan of this Chris Lord Algae guy. This is the Chris Lord Algae Epic. It's a very nice delay. It does a lot of different things. And the first thing, I'm just going to go to a preset that I think might work, and we'll see if that works, and then we'll go from there. So this is a guitar. So let's do a delay canyon. I like the idea of that delayed canyon because that's the sound. I want something to kind of like feel big and immense. So let's just see if that works. Yes, I love that. It's got a little bit of a dotted 8 or something, so it's got a bit of a skip to it, and that's beautiful. That's a keeper. Yeah, it's starting to sound good. All right, let's just, we've got a melody I've got to put in there. Let me just delete some of these tracks that I'm not using. We have the rhythm there in blue, and then this green one is the melody. So let's see what we got here. We're gonna have to maybe do some edits here. Let me turn up the pads a little bit more. Da da dum. I think that's a little late. Da da dum. It's a little late, but you don't want to be too early because yeah, good question, George. What did I do? I don't know. Did I hide it or did I delete it? Sometimes, yeah, you can hide a track. If it was blank, I probably deleted it, but maybe you saw me. Maybe I pushed hide. I don't know. I should have done delete. Yeah, I think I did hide. I think you're spot on. Yeah. So yeah, if I don't need a track, I'll just if it's a blank track like these two that I've got muted here in orange, these two orange buttons. I might want. I'm thinking. I don't know. We'll see how we go. I might add some. I might see if that's something I want. It's like just a strummed chord. I might put like a reverse thing on or something. Over here, I'm not going to delete that one. But yeah, I don't think I have any tracks to delete, so I might have just hit it for now. Anyway, so yeah. Either way, I only hide the track if I only hide the track if it's something on it and I need it, I might need to come back to it. If it's a blank track and I'm done, I'm mixing and I'm done, then I'll delete. So make those executive decisions as I go, I guess. So these are my melodies. So I'm actually going to send them to something I've got already set up called the LV, which is actually the lead vocal preset. But it's the lead vocal, it's the lead melody. I'm fine with that. It usually has it's got a setup that I have it set up already on this. An EQ. I like this EQ. It has a already just set up. It takes off a little bit of, I think it's 36 and below. But what I usually do is as I play the music, I'll put this high pass filter. I'll sweep it to wherever the frequency is. So just right now, I'll be like listening to that melody, and I'll be like, you don't need any bass. I might cut it off here somewhere. And you can see there's a lot of frequency around that 20, which is it's just I don't know, maybe an air conditioner in the room or not in the room, but it's picking up some low rumbles. Maybe a truck drives by somewhere, or so it's picking up that low stuff. I don't need any of that. That's going to stack. If that's stacking on every single track, you're going to have a buildup of these low frequencies that is just going to make your mix muddy. So the first thing, this is such a great little tip to do. The first thing you want to do is if the instrument doesn't have any lows in it and it doesn't need it, like this melody doesn't need any lows in it, get rid of it. Just chop it right from that frequency down. Again, as I play it, you'll see it rumble around here, and I've just cut it off. See that little bump there? It's rumbling. We don't need that. So that's why I do like this Waves plugin, this HEQ, because visually you can see it and you can hear it. It's great. So you can use both. I like to have that. That's a very handy tool. So, and then I just have a little compressor on it. My solid state Logic, the G Master Bus compressor. This is a great little plugin. Right now too, if you don't have some of these, Waves has got an awesome sale on. Waves kind of has sales all year round, but these are some of the go-to ones that I use all the time. And guys that are winning Grammys use these as well. I've seen them. This is what they've said. They've used some of this stuff, so it's like it's quality stuff. So all right, keep going. I'm just putting a little bit more compressor on the compression on the bus, on the acoustic guitars. Oh, these a little late. All right, cool. I think we got those. Oh, actually, hang on. We've got some harmonies with the melody. Now I got to make sure these are tight. So I'm looking here and I can see they're not tight. Make sure they're in time there. Let me just get rid of some of these things so it's a little bit more real estate. There we go. All right, I'm just cleaning up here, making sure this melody's in time, and then we'll start playing with the some of that ambient stuff and just get some really cool creative stuff going. This one here is a little light. You can actually see it, but actually I didn't mind it. It didn't stick out to me as something I want to change. That sounds like us. All right, so I'm happy with that for the melody, and what I'll do is I'll keep moving forward, and I'll start heading towards cleaning up some of these pads and create some really cool pad stuff. And then if anything jumps out to me with the guitars, if it jumps out something's wrong, that's when I go back and fix it. You know, especially hearing it a couple of times and it just sticks out like a sore thumb or something. You know. Then I can go back and kind of fix that. So I did want to do a reverse thing that I was hearing. Like towards the very end, I want it to go shh. dun, but I want it to be organic. So I'm looking at these ring outs that I have here. What do we got here? Oh, that could work. It's a little bit muddy, or a little bit on the low end. Look, what's the other one? I don't mind that. Let's just do them both, and we'll see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to reverse these guys. Where's my reverse? There it is. So I'm just going to reverse them. Simple as that. And this is not a plugin or anything, but you can get plugins that reverse. But this just comes stock standard with Pro Tools. Everyone has a reverse on their stock standard stuff. So now I want to add this towards the very end. Hopefully it's the same chord. We'll see if that's the right chord. Let's just send it to the guitars. I'm going to put a lot of reverb and stuff on it, so we'll just see if it works on that last chord. That's the idea. That's the idea. I'm just going to cut it there. Just want that ringing. Yes, that's it. So that's all. It's a nice little organic riser. I'm just going to put some reverbs on it. Let's hear that one more time. Now just one will fade up a little bit at the other time, just to give our ears a little bit of candy. One's going out hard left, one's going out hard right, and they're about the same volume. About the same. One is going to fade a little bit faster, and one's going to just have a gradual. So it just creates a little bit something different happening. Yeah, I like it. A little bit too much. Let's just pull it back to there. Let's make sure this. Actually, I think I'm just going to put a reverb actually on the channel, because then I can make sure that pre-delay isn't it's not coming in after. I want it to come right in at the right time. Yes, there we go. So it's still going. So it's a little let's just get rid of some low frequencies. I want it to be a little bit brighter. Just copy that down there. It's almost, it's nearly inaudible, but it does feel right. It feels like something does add in there. So I like that. We'll see. Here we go. Yeah. Yep. Maybe I'll take a little bit of the highs off. All right, so now let's have a look at some of these pad stuff, but we're really getting there. I don't think I'm going to add any more to those guitars. Let's have some fun with these pads. I got a couple ideas that I want to do. Yeah, one of these sounds I don't like anymore. Which one is it? Could be that one. I don't know. Let's just create another one, another pad with a different sound. All right, that's a reverse. Let's do, what should we do? Some sort of pad. Something. I do like Omnisphere, but it's a bit of a, I've used it a lot. Maybe we'll see what's here. I just got Spitfire stuff, so I don't know too much of their stuff, but we'll have a look and see what uh, warped loops, warped construction kits. No. Maybe I'll just go with maybe I'll go with these analog strings by I want a paddy kind of thing, something kind of that's more strings or something, you know. All right, so what do we got here? Let's play around. All I did was just copy the other part. Well, I did, but I deleted it. Oh, somehow that could be cool. It's a little loud, but that could be cool. Gosh, right out of the box, I like that. If we, I'm just going to create another one. Create another one of that because I like that. We'll see if we can have something else to add to that. So I just doubled the track. We'll come up with something different here. Good question, Joe. Joe's asking, for emotive, do you build dynamic with the track layering or decrease the volume in parts or both? Kind of a little bit of both. You don't want it to step too much. You want it to kind of like blend. And so if you do any automation or anything, like if you add parts and it's kind of like stepping, like, you know, it's this sound and then a sound comes in pretty clear, you know, you want it a little bit more really kind of washy or really kind of ambient or really nothing sudden. Kind of think like you know, the music you go to a spa. You know, it's kind of like nothing abrupt. Everything's just soft, and so that's kind of what you want. And then the organic element is going to be the I don't want to say abrasive, but the part that kind of sticks out, or you know, that's the organic part of it that sticks out, but the other is just going to wash. So I'm going to be washing everything, like just putting even more reverb thing on it. And then I do have an idea for a movement thing that I want to do. I have movement on it, but I want to do a side chain kind of kick that kind of goes doom, doom, or something. Have kind of like not a gate, but like a compressor side chain. And I'll do that in a minute. But once I get another couple of pads, we'll try that, and then we'll kind of see how that is going to create a little bit of movement within the ambient stuff. So, good question. Gosh, that's nice. That's a nice plugin. I haven't played with that really at all. Maybe that's the second time that I've pulled it up. It's something called Analog Strings by Output. That you can do a lot in now, and that's a really nice pad thing. And I haven't even played with it. I'm okay with that sound for now, and that's a really nice plugin. I think I bought it last year, 2019 or maybe 2020. Maybe 2 years ago. So I bought that on sale somewhere and I just didn't use it, haven't used it, and it's like pulling it up now. It's like, it sounds great. And then I put a little bit of reverb on, not a little, but not a little, a lot of reverb to really create that, to create a real nothing abrupt. Let's have a listen to that. Gosh, that's some nice wall of pads. So now I'm going to create a little bit of that movement that I was talking about. So what I'm going to do is create a sidechain kick pattern that I kind of like, and I want to blend that in. But the kick I want to use is gosh, we'll just grab any sample here. What do we got here? Oh, we don't have anything in here. So let me just pull up a drum. If you don't want to grab a sample from anywhere, you can do it this way. Or you can just do noise as well. I'll just do it this way though. There's so many ways to get there. Oops, I created three. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. Delete those. Kick, 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 down. Alright, so we're just going to do, this is how you kind of create, this is one way to create a side chain. We're not even going to hear that kick. That kick is just going to trigger the compressor to work to squash down some of the sounds, those pads, so it's actually going to feel like there's movement. I don't even know if that'll be the pattern I want. Let's see. I think that'll be cool. Alright, so all we're done there, I'm actually going to bounce that just to an audio. So now we just have that as a kick. Now I can get rid of that, free up some computer space. Delete. So what we're going to do here, we're going to send this to a bus. We're going to send this to, let's just say 24. We're going to send this to an auxiliary or a bus. So now you're not going to hear it anymore. But now we're going to go down here and on the movement, because these are sent down, all these pads, we're only dealing with the pad right now. So all of those pads are going to pads, but then I'm also going to send them to another auxiliary. Let's just create another one. Let's just duplicate that, but we'll change it as the side chain kick. and we're going to create another one. So we're just going to go right here, 21, 22. So name that side chain. Oops, side chain. So then, and then this one should be going to the mix bus. So now we are going to send the pads to that side chain, to that the one we just called side chain, and we're just going to put about, we're going to put, you know, about 100% in there, sending it there. Now we go over to the side chain, and we get rid of movement, and we just put a compressor or anything that you can use that has the ability to use the side chain key. And so then you click up here and you go to what channel did I do it? Channel 3? I think it was 23. Let me check. Where did I send it? Oh, I sent it to 24, not to 23. 24. And if you're not quite sure how to do that, it's a great little trick to work out. You know, pull it up on YouTube with your DAW and how to create a side chain. And it's basically what it's going to do is it's triggering the pad sound. You'll see. So that kick there, the kick, 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 that's going to trigger the compressor to work. That's what's going to be the trigger. So oh, let me just mute that. So it's going to compress it. So you'll see it when it comes in. It looks like a kick is hitting it. When we push play, like a kick. Then we just, but this is actually an extra sound. So I want this to go a bit hard, and then we're going to change the release a little bit. It's a little bit hard to hear with that. Let's just hear just the pads. You might be able to hear it. It's very subtle, but it's going to create just a little bit of like a pulsing kind of thing. But it's very. I'll take it off and then put it back on, and you might be able to hear it. I gotta make sure it's on. It's so subtle, but I don't know if you can hit on that, but it's creating this. It's moving like a pulse where it kind of pulse, but you can't even actually quite. It's not super clear, but it's there. I don't know if you can hear that when I take it on and off. I'll do it one more time, but it just feels so. We're talking 5, 6, 7, 8%. It's just a feeling that it feels there. It's really cool. So let me play it one more time. This is without it. Super subtle. It's very low, but it's super subtle. I love it, but I don't want a big pulsing sidechain kick in this song. I don't want it. I want it to real just move, and so that's kind of like a cool little trick. George asked, the kick triggers, opens and closes the pads through the compressor gate, but the kick is not heard. Correct. You're 100% correct. I've sent the kick instead of sending it all through the mix through the main faders. I've sent it somewhere else. I've sent it over to 24 to Chac to bus 24, and then I've had another compressor listen to just only listen to that track 24. So it's kind of like uh, um, the bus 24 is hidden, but it's only like the only way that it's working now is that side chain is listening to it. That's otherwise there's nothing else going on with that kick up there. There's just a big wall of kick that's not happening. But so yeah, so you're exactly right. Side chaining is really really cool. It's very musical, very musical. So okay, so I'm getting pretty close here to a point. I know we've been on for a little under an hour. Let's start tidying it up and completing it. And we could keep tweaking things forever. Let's keep tidying it up. So one of the things I like to do is, especially when I start getting to the mixing, I want it to sound like almost what the finished product is going to be. And so I have a setup of a mastering chain that I've been using for a little while, and this works really well. I have my limiter on very last, and then I have a master desk. This was pretty cool. So let's unbias that, unbypass that, if they can say that. And then I have a setting, Steve start. I took a while to kind of dial that in, and just spent like half an hour dialing in a good place for me to start. And now it's saved it as a preset, and that's my start. And then I tweak from there. And then I have this BX. This is really professional. This one's a really good one. It can hurt your mix, so you only do little things. I have another default setting, I think, that starts it. I have the mono maker set at 127. That's a really cool thing. And now I'm kind of stepping into the mastering hat, or putting on the mastering cap. So the mono maker makes anything low from past 127 go down the middle, like the middle speakers, and then everything else out the left and right. Now with this track, we don't really have much in the middle. There's not this kick thing happening or anything, but it's already set up for 127. I'm just gonna keep it there and just see. I doubt it's not gonna matter too much in this mix, because there's really not that much going on. There's only like two instruments, like three instruments. You've got your wall of pads, and then you've got your piano and then your guitar. So there's really only three kind of instruments. The high end on the side is going to be really important here. What I like to do is I peak that. I find wherever that frequency is, and then I pan it out to the sides a little bit. Here, I'll do that now. That frequency there is about 7.5 K, and so then I just put that out 1 dB out to the sides a little bit more. So that means out to the sides, that frequency 7.5 gets boosted just a little bit. It creates, and this is kind of like what the wideners do. It creates a little bit more of a wider field, because all of a sudden those frequencies just stick out a little bit more on the sides and not in the middle, and it's really kind of cool. So that's just, I don't tweak that too much. Remember, small things, just small. This one can really destroy your mix if you're not careful. That is very powerful, that one there. And then I have dangerous audio, which is another setting that I set up. And all I do here is I just cut from about 12 hertz down. You don't even hear 12, and from 70. And the thought process is that it's just going to get a little bit more headroom, because you're not even going to hear those. Your computer's not working hard to get you those signals when you can't even hear from 70 above. So that's and then I boost a little bit. I think in the I think that's like what 7K. I boost. I got a little shelf there, I think. Yeah, I got a little shelf there. And then we just have the Polcher, the Fairchild, which is Plug Child by Waves. This is a great little compressor, and you're going to see it's going to barely touch. It just kisses this compressor. This compressor, it doesn't. My theory and my philosophy is many hands make light work. So I have a lot of compressors doing just a little bit of work. So let's see what it comes out. This has a great sound, this compressor here. So now we've actually tweaked that, and we are kind of getting to that mixing now. I've kind of got a basic master on it now, so this is kind of like it's at a good level. Now let's get rid of some of these channels that I'm not using. I'm not using that one. I'm not using strings. Get rid of those. Clean things up a bit more. So this here is my limiter, and this limiter here is just set up so that my output ceiling, don't make sure that's not at 0, because you can get it to clip or distort, which is a big no-no. So pull it up as high as you can. 0 minus 0.1 is the highest you can go on this one, which is fine. So then I'm going to pull down the threshold until it starts to touch it, and then I'm going to have no more than -3 dB of gain reduction, because it's any more than -3, you're going to start to hear it, and it's really going to pump, and it's going to really destroy the sound, you know. And so I don't want those artifacts. I just want a nice clear. And this one doesn't have to be super loud, this track. So that's -5, too much. So Alright, so editing now. Now I'm wearing my editing hat. I heard something that didn't go in time. Right there, these didn't go in time, so we just go tweak them, fix them up. So also hearing a little bit of too much compression on these guys on the acoustic. There we go. See, -6. That's on this channel here. You can see when it goes up to 6, this is in the compressor side, and it's telling you that you've got -6 dB or 6 dB of gain, a gain reduction. So I don't want to work it too hard there. So I'm going to go back there and tweak that. Ah, nice. I like that little reverse thing. Maybe a little loud. All right, we are getting close, guys. We're getting close. So let's have another listen. You got any questions? I might take a break for a couple of minutes. Anyone got any questions? And then I think I will be bouncing it down, and we'll see what I hear tomorrow. I do have a track here that I don't need. That was the other piano that I didn't like. I'm happy with everything here, so I'm committing. Yesterday I recorded this piano here, this grayed out one. It was a lot more action. There's a lot more like playing. You can see a lot more notes in there. And then I didn't like it. I went back and re-recorded it and just did simple things. And now I'm committing to the delete button. Gone. So I totally committed to that now. So just cleaning things up. We don't need this track up here. That one is, yeah, we don't need that. Delete. Good question, Joe. Joe asks, do you use drops and stops in this style or complete gaps? Is there a specific song structure? This one, I don't do any drops. I do an edit point, which you can kind of call like a stop or anything, but it's in the middle of the song here. It kind of really goes down, and then it starts back up again. And with these kind of songs, if you can put an edit point in, it always works out in your favor, because if it doesn't ruin the song, if it goes along with the vibe of the song, because then the editors, when they're putting it to film and TV, they're like, you know what, I can cut it right there. There's a clean cut where it's a great edit point. That's where it comes from. So I don't put any drops in here. The only reverse thing I've got is that at the very end, because I want the overall sound for this, like Emotive Spaces, it's space. It's just like creating this like spa kind of sound where it's just, there's nothing abrupt. There's nothing, nothing goes really loud. Nothing goes really soft. It's just kind of like, it's just kind of just washed right there. And so that's kind of like the idea. And then the song structure, really it's most of my instrumental cues and my tracks for instrumentals and stuff are usually about a minute 30. That's kind of like my about the number I go for, and it's an A format. So it has an A section, which is, you start off and give the director, give the music supervisor, give them what they're expecting with that song. So just out of the gate, pretty much open up with what the song's about, not really a long intro or anything. And then the B section is kind of like where it changes, does something different. It can go up, like a little bit more busier, or a little less. And then it goes back to the A section. So that's kind of the structure for all my instrumental cues, unless I've been asked to do them differently, unless the producer wants them a little different. So with this one, you can clearly see it, that the B section is when the piano walks in and so it does a little part, and then the guitar gets a little bit more busy. Then it goes back to the beginning. You can see these green parts are the melodies there on both sides, and then the B section, there's no melody, and it's the piano does it. So I'll just play it from here. You can hear it. point. Now it doesn't have to go down to 0. It doesn't. Sometimes I used to think that it has to go all to make the right edit point, or to make a 100% good edit point. It needs to go down, and no, it just has to just go down where they can cut it, and it's nice, clean. Start to the next section. So that's a great edit point. I'll play it one more time. Master fader. It's fine. It doesn't go down too much, but that's fine. Yeah, so that'll be great. But I think we're getting there. So let's just have a listen all the way through, and then I think we might be ready to bounce it down. On my side of things, I'm just going to play it in mono and play a little bit about with how I'm hearing. I don't think it's going to. You're not going to hear anything on your side, but I like to play it just in mono, just to double check, see if there's anything that's sticking out majorly, and sometimes I'll turn the volume down and then up, and just play with a little bit on my side. One thing I want to do is I want to fade in with that pad, actually. I just want to... I want to bring that in a little bit more. There we go. Because I'm going to fade these in. Except for this one. I don't think I'm going to fade this one in. Yeah, we'll start off with a fade like that. All right, let's have a listen. I think I'm still going to turn the pads down a bit too. Yeah, nice work. Very simple. It doesn't need a lot of stuff in it. It doesn't need. If you add too much stuff, you'll hurt it, you know. And uh, thanks, uh, thanks, Joe. John. John says so. Mel, it's putting me to sleep. I hope that's a good thing on a Saturday afternoon. Hopefully, if you can sleep on a Saturday afternoon before a couple of weeks before Christmas, that's a good thing. I know everyone's like, oh, I gotta get my shopping. Um, oh, there's a few questions here. I missed some of these. Okay, so um, John asks, what is the advantage of pads over keys? Great question. It depends. If you're saying keys as a piano, like meaning, then it's going to be too attacky, like too much, like single note. You can hear the notes. But if you can wash that out with reverb, you could play a piano and then just wash it out with reverb, so it creates this pad that just goes like it's more like a wall of sound, like a it's got to create it. So whatever you can do to create that. Sometimes I will do a an electric guitar or a guitar and put a ton of reverb on it, like just have a single note, like maybe the root note or maybe the fifth of whatever key it is, and just play that note and then just have it like, and then wash it out with reverb and then automate that in and out. Sometimes that creates a pad. So it all depends what you can do pads or keys. So but whatever it is, make sure it's all washy and it's that's just like the bed, the music bed, and that's actually the emotive spaces part, and then the organic is the acoustic guitar, and then I change it up with a little bit of piano. That's the organic kind of side. But good question, good question. Um, okay, cool. Yep, got that one. Got that question. Okay, and Joe says very relaxed. Thanks for sharing the process, Steve. No worries. I can hear how those reverbs and touches engaged with the listener. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And you have taken me from Melbourne to Byron Bay. Very cool. I didn't know you're in Australia. Where you're in Melbourne then, I'm guessing.
I am Steve. I'm in Melbourne where it's hot and cold, hot and cold. So yeah, just thank you for this morning. Thank you for the invitation. I've got so much of it because
No, it's great.
I love this style. I kind of get lost in this little world sometimes, but I can get very too hippie. So you know what I mean? Like I can just go way off. So I really appreciated your insights and the invitation. I've got a lot out of today. Thank you very much.
Oh, no worries, and no worries at all. And I think too that a lot of people like think that you can't get kind of sync or you can't make a living or getting placements doing the kind of like even like you're saying hippie. There is genres for that. There is opportunities for that, and then you find out what is that makes it hippie, and then you can be like, well, I want to add more of that, or let's take that out, and then you'd be like, all of a sudden you've got a placeable track that can be open to so much more, and it's just a little just knowing what's happening and what they're wanting, and this track here is going to be you can hear this all day long in like in TV shows or even in documentaries or I'm constantly getting like no, I don't want to say new agey, but I'm constantly thinking of like the galaxies and stars, and like it keeps bringing those kind of those images to my mind, but it can be used for anything. So um, it's going to be great, and they're very easy to put together. As you see, the first video is only about an hour, and this one's about an hour, and so let's just round it up, 3 hours in and out. It's and you got a queue, that can make you money, keep making you money, and you're off at the beach or in Byron Bay. I wouldn't mind going to Byron Bay right now. I'm in Colorado, so I wouldn't mind going to Byron Bay and seeing getting some waves. That's for sure.
Steve, just a quick one on that. So you're making up a catalog. Like I love Brian Cox science documentaries as well. There's a lot of stuff I enjoy, but so you're making up like an album, and obviously you have relationship with publishers and stuff. And then that just sits with them, and then they just pitch it out, or how do
Yeah.
you do that with this style? Is there specific libraries that are this way inclined?
Yeah, well, so basically, to answer the later part of your question is yes. So this kind of style it is pretty universal. Like a lot of libraries will pick this up. I'm pretty sure that that what ends up happening is sometimes I'll pick a style, like I've done this all year, is I start off with southern rock, southern gothic rock, I think it was at the beginning of the year, and I pitched it to one publisher and said, hey, do you want an album of these? And they said, yep. And then I was like, okay, I did 10 for that. And then I pitched it to another library and said, do you want one of these? And they said, yep. So I had to do another, and I ended up having to do like 30 or 35, 40 of these southern gothic. I was sick of them, but they all wanted them. And so with this one, it's just going to be the same approach where I'll send it off to a few of my publishers, and then I'm pretty sure they'll get back to me and say, yeah, we could do with an album of those. No worries, sounds good. I think we'll get those placed, and a lot of and then coming back to the first part of your question, so yeah, of course I've been building it up over the last 11 years, like building up all these connections with these publishers. So I have like 20, 25 different publishers that I work with. And so, I send them off to these guys and say, is this something that your clients would, be requesting? And if you've got your ears to what's actually happening on TV and stuff, then you'll be like, you pretty much nearly know the answer. It's like probably, and so they're not going to say any, they're not going to say probably no, or if they'll say no if they don't think they'll use it. And so then that's the cool thing. What I do, and this is kind of a different niche, or it's not that niche. It's just a little bit different to pitching your music to those big syncs. These are the kind of like the low hanging fruit or the easy to get kind of placements, which really can pay even more than those big syncs through the back end, and which is really cool. So the way I treat it is that I partner with the publishers. So instead of looking at it like, oh, please sign my music, I'm kind of almost to the point where I'm looking for the right publisher that will work with my music and somebody I want to work with, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive. And I talk about all that through the course, of course. But and so I will sign those songs to them, and then they pitch them. I forget about them. I walk away and be like, great, let's do the next album. Let's do the next music. And so what that enables me to do is just sit in the studio all day recording music, and I don't pitch my music. I do that first pitch to the publisher and see if they want that kind of track, or if that's something they want to do, and then I'll just go and do the album, and then I'll get to sit in the studio like this all day doing music, which is what I love. It's hard sometimes when you're pitching music and you're hearing and you're hearing crickets all day. It's a little tricky. So I like that aspect of signing the music to the publisher. It's kind of like, we're 50-50. They're the publisher. They go ahead and pitch the song all day, hopefully all day, and then I go ahead and make as best music as I possibly can. And so it's been working for me but that's kind of like, that's a little different to how some people work. So, but yeah, so good question. And then John asks, are these for libraries? Yes. And then or direct to soup. So they're for libraries. And who will you pitch these to? Yeah, so I'll pitch these to one of my libraries, and then if they say, oh, and I haven't really even had that. I've maybe had that maybe a couple of times. Maybe I can't even remember the last time I pitched something to a music library and they said, no, we don't want that. I've pitched certain songs, or like, here's a song I've completed. Do you want to sign it? And maybe you don't get that one signed. But when I do these collections for these more of those music libraries, they seem to want them. So, and of course, I'm picking genres that I'm hearing on TV all the time. So, have you ever used a sync agency? Yes, a great question, John. I have a few connections with some sync agencies, but what ends up happening with the sync agencies is I'm not signed to an exclusive sync agency, but what ends up happening is you'll send a great song to them, or and say, hey, this song sounds like Ed Sheeran, or and so then what will happen is they'll put it on their shelf, or they'll put it in their collection, of Ed Sheeran kind of sound-alike songs, and then for the agency, they're looking for, like, their first client is like maybe Walmart or Kmart, or one of those big companies who come to them and say, hey, this is our video, this is what we need you to get the right song. We want anything but Ed Sheeran. Or they might say whatever it is, and then your Ed Sheeran track is sitting on the shelf hoping, that one day that Kmart says, hey, we need a song that sounds like Ed Sheeran, and then hopefully the sync agency remembers your song and is like, oh, got the one just for you, you know. And so that's kind of how that kind of works. The world of publishers and the world I'm kind of in is they will ship off like they'll ship off like the new album, the new collection. So like as soon as I finish this one, Organic Emotive Spaces, I'll send this off to a publisher, and they'll get a title, they'll get a you know, some graphics for it and everything. Then they will release it to their all of their connections, and then all their connections will be like, great, okay, so now anything we need that's emotive or anything organic, they will use that in their TV show. So it's kind of like having, instead of having one spot like a sync agency, they have one spot for that one Target commercial or, you know, Apple commercial. They have that one spot. In the TV world, they got to have like 30 spots, and so there's a lot more of those opportunities to get those placements than that one big one. So hopefully that kind of makes a bit of sense. But that's been my focus for the last 11 years, just the easy low hanging fruit. You know, just get placements all day, and you know, some of the placements I get are in show. I had one on a show called Cobra Kai, and I distinctly remember the publisher sent me a check, or they said they got me the placement, and I watched the show, and then I could not hear my song, and so I replayed the show and listened to it so loud and so carefully, couldn't hear my song, and so I emailed my publisher the next day and said, did they maybe pull out the last minute or change their minds? And they go, no, we have your check with the name on it right here. So they used it, but I couldn't even hear it. And so that's what happens a lot of the time. It's just like, great, you know, you're just doing music, you know. And the whole thing is, if you love music, then you just keep doing this, and then you get the placements. The placements will end up you know, paying, and that backlog of like royalties just chases you. But still, you're winning because at the beginning of the day, you won because you got to sit in the studio and make a music. So anyways, that's kind of like I love it. But okay, yeah. So John, you asked, so do you do exclusive deals or non-exclusive? I'm guessing. So out of those 25 publishers, I probably only have 3 or 4 that are non-exclusive. So most of them are exclusive, and which obviously means when you sign them, you know, that term. I have one publisher that's in perpetuity, so you know, so that's a big ask. But most of the others are like a term, like, you know, it's 3 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years. I think I have a couple that are 5 years. A lot of them are usually around 3 years. So guess what? You know, if you write that track, or maybe I push myself to do an album of tracks before the end of the year or something like that, and then I do you know, or songs, you know, maybe it's a vocal album, and you know, I push myself to do it, and then I sign it to them, and maybe they don't do anything, but guess what? In 3 years time, I can pull those songs back, and it's still in my catalog, and you know, they're still mine. So I like that. Depending on that term, if it's perpetuity, for me personally, it's that's a little bit more like, I don't know about that. I've signed a handful of those to that library, and they've got placements. But it's still a bit of a tall order for me personally, because it's like in 10, 15 years time, that publisher, I hope that they haven't forgotten my song, but there's a chance, you know, they're going to be listening to the new stuff, and you know, so it could be very easy that mine kind of gets buried a little bit. I think it's kind of just a natural thing, and but I haven't forgot about my songs. You know, 15 years down the track, I still have my song. I could redo it or tweak it, you know. So, but and then another question John asked is, how long was it before you went full time? So, and then the next question is, I don't know. I didn't know there was so many publishers for Sync. Well, I'll address the last one first. There is hundreds and hundreds of publishers. If you go to a website called APM Music or Source Audio, just have a click around there, and there is hundreds and thousands of publishers. There is more work for you, me, and 1,000 of our friends each. There's too much work out there. There's too much, you know. And so check out those APM Music. Let me type that up for you. APM Music. Music. And the other one was Source Audio. And then go to, I think it's members or clients or something. Or clients. All right, so there, oh, clients. So, yeah, check that out. Anyway, so there's tons of publishers that do this, absolutely. And then the other question was, how long was it before I went full time? So I started back in 2009, and I think, and I was very beginner. I really, my first songs are really weren't that good at all. My whole goal was like, I've got to get better at this. I got to figure out how to do this. And I knew it was a practice thing. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to practice just like guitar or any instrument. You got to do your scales. You just got to practice it. So I knew I just had to do this. I just had to do the track, button it up, and send it off to a publisher. So I guess it was probably the first. I think I got the first placement. I think it was a triple. No, it wasn't triple A. I think it was a University of Phoenix, like a small little regional commercial thing, and paid like $600 or something like that. It was really small, but I think that was the second year, and so I was like, wow, so this does work, but it takes a bit of work. So I doubled down and even created even more tracks and worked even harder. And I think maybe about 3 years after that, I was able to take a Friday off, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything Fridays anymore. Now it's going to be music all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then it wasn't long after that until I could say, that's it. I'm not doing anything on Mondays anymore. So then I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then I think I just got to the point where I just picked and choose what gigs I wanted to do, I was working real estate at the time, I think too. I was doing night gigs, on the weekends, and I was doing some real estate, and I just picked and choose, and I was just like, I don't want to do that one, I don't want to work there, and so it was like, so I just narrowed it down, and then and just until you just get to the point where you just, you're doing whatever you want because, you can do a production gig if someone says, hey, can you want to do my album? You can listen to it and be like, that's something I want to work on, or maybe you can't work on that, so. Good question, John. Good question. How many songs and cues do you write a year? Okay, so I have about 20, maybe 2,500 instrumental cues slash songs in my catalog. So that's how many I have in my catalog. I think it's about 70-30. So it's 70% instrumentals and 30% vocals, because I realized that for every placement out there, like every vocal placement, because I'm an artist first, so for every vocal placement out there, there's probably about 19 instrumental placement opportunities. So I was like, well, if you love music, let me just tweak music and do a song, 30% of the time. So in answering how many have I done this year, I'm pushing, coming up to 200. I'm trying to get to my 200th song or track. I don't know. I'm pretty sure the ratio is about 30-70 for this year. I'm just thinking. I know I did 20 vocal songs for one album, and I know I did another 10, I think, earlier on. Um, so yeah, that's the what's that 30, 40. There might be about 40 vocal songs. So whatever that ratio is, maybe a little bit, maybe it's 20-80, I guess, this year or something. But one of my publishers, I was on the phone with him yesterday, and we were setting up an album, so I got 10 more vocal tracks to do before February. So soon as January comes around, as soon as I finish this another album that I'm working on before the end of the year, I will be working on that one. So good question. All right, so let's take one more, and then I'll let you guys go. So George says crazy cool. Yeah, it's I guess I have an issue. I have a problem. I like music. So hi, my name is Steve. I'm addicted to music. So it's a blessing though. It really is, and I just got to keep pinching myself and just be thankful that I get to
It
do
beats
this.
working, right?
Hey, I can hear you, John. Yep.
It beats working.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
It beats a day job, huh? Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
And it's so easy. It's so doable. That's what I tell all my students in my course. It really is doable, and it's not if you quit, but that's about it. That's if you just
A lot less stressful, I guess. When you after you start to make money, it's a lot less stressful than a day job, is for sure. Especially if
absolutely.
you got a day job you don't enjoy. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. It's so true. And then you don't have to dread getting up. Oh, I got to go do that job. And it's
yeah,
like,
right. Yeah,
if you start thinking, oh, I have to do that, we'll just, if the royalties are coming in once you're getting placements, well, don't do it anymore. Just be like, work your way out of it, or hand it off to someone else, or get someone else to do that. So it's,
yeah.
it's good. All right, cool. What do we got here? One more question here. Thank you, Gary. Great information. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Inspiring, good, and you can do it. You guys can do it. It really is like if I can do it, anyone can do it. I promise you. No worries. Thank you, Vicky. Do I pitch to A&R? So yeah, John was asking, um, do you pitch to A&R? It depends because A&R is artists and relationships for whatever company it is. So I don't pitch to record labels, but I pitch to directly to the publishers. So sometimes these publishers are a bit smaller. They don't have an A&R department. They just have just your direct. You're pitching directly to the publisher, who he has a bunch of connections that you have access through him, and so a lot of the time it's just directly to the publisher. So
Can I ask one more question?
yeah, yeah, go, go.
Well, what sources do you use for your leads, for contacts, for when you first started? I mean, you've got a solid relationships going now. But what did you start out doing?
One of the techniques that worked really well for me is collaborating. So you get in a group of people that, or you start collaborating with people that have connections, and then you finish the song, and you make that a good collaboration. So sometimes if I'm writing with somebody, I might do a little bit more of the work, and be the guy to be like, well, I want to work with him again. He worked hard, he worked fast, he was totally the best guy to work, like nicest guy to work with. So then you collaborate, you write songs with them, and then hopefully you might get some of those songs put in into some of their connections or some of their libraries, and then that kind of gets you in the door, and then you're able to start the relationship of your own with that publisher. It's kind of like coming in the side door instead of cold calling and knocking on the front
Yeah,
door.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was a good strategy
Exactly.
for me.
Always better.
Yeah.
It's
So
yeah.
yeah.
Word of mouth is the best advertising.
That's right. That's it. Absolutely, absolutely. So
Thank you so much.
no worries. Well,
Let you
thank you
go.
guys. Thank you guys for coming in. I'm going to upload this one to YouTube, and so then you guys can rewatch it and pause it and rewind and all that kind of stuff. So I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll send you the link. If you don't get the link in the next by the end of the week, email me because maybe I've forgotten or something. But I'll export it now and put it up on YouTube. So it should be in the next up there on the next few days. It'll be a private link, so you'll see that. So great question, Joe. So the next course actually, if you are interested, because the next course starts in January, early January. So if you are interested, there is actually a discount. So I think you got to get that before. I think it's before the end of the year. So like a Christmas discount. But yeah, I think you'll get so much out of it, and I'd love to work with you. If that's something you're interested in. The guys that are in there now, like Gary, Vicky, they absolutely everyone just is loving it, and I really want the best for everyone, and I really want to. I'm connecting people with my connections, and my hope and dream is that Gary and Vicky, you guys are on the call here. That my hope and dream is that you start rolling it, and you start getting the placements, you're starting to do it, and then fast forward a handful of years, we just hang out, and we're just like, how are you doing? And you guys are teaching me stuff. You're like, well, I talked to this publisher. Did you know this? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. That's my dream, because as I said earlier, there is too much work for me. There's too much work for you, and there's too much work for 1,000 of our friends. So let's just do this all together, and it's just so much fun. So yeah, so I'd love to help you, Joe, for sure. Let me know if you've got any questions too. Reach out for sure. John and anyone, anyone who's on the call, reach out if you've got any questions. I'm totally here for you guys. So awesome. George says, awesome, Steve. Indeed. Yep. Happy holidays. Vicky says, make such a transformation. Your stuff is getting so good, Vicky. It really is. And Gary, your stuff is awesome too. So just wrapping up this month. Yeah. Well, we're going to do it. We're going to do an ongoing thing too if you guys want to keep connected too. So that's exciting. But anyway, I'm going to let you all go. And I think I'm going to go hang out with my wife, do something this afternoon. And I will see you guys in the chats. All right, later.